Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to some more inspiration using some beautiful products from Honeybee Stamps. I'm going to be creating a really soft and pretty card today using the gorgeous Lovely Layers Peonies die set. This is a large die set here. You can see this die set creates one large peony bloom as well as some leaves and a bud. So just a really, really gorgeous die set. Now I've cut all of the pieces out of white cardstock and I'm going to be doing some ink blending. So I'm going to use this palette here. This is Tattered Rose, Aged Mahogany, Tea Dye, Old Paper, Bundled Sage, and Peeled Paint Distress Oxide ink. And I'm going to use a kind of a medium-sized brush from Honeybee Stamps. Now I don't end up using the tea dye, but I do use all of the other colors. And I'm starting off here with Tattered Rose for the base of the bloom, the large bloom. And I'm just looking at these and thinking about how I want to vary the layers colors of this peony. And so you'll just see me as I'm going through this process, changing from dark to light for different layers that I'm using. And you'll see that I'll kind of lay them together to see if I need to deepen anything up as I go along. And so I'm just going to here, you can just see I'm laying this together and I'm going to decide at some point that some things need to be darkened up as I'm going through. And so it's just kind of a process that you can use to help you as you blend on your inks. And I am going to make sure that I use a microfiber cloth to clean that aged mahogany off my brush before I go back to the Tattered Rose. And so just kind of really varying the tones of the lights and darks by loading the brush with more or less ink and also applying more or less pressure to the brush, depending on how dark I want my ink to be. So here again, just layering these together and going back and checking to see if things are too light. And if they are, I will darken things up. So you'll just see me going back to that largest layer again, the largest piece. I'm actually even going to use ink off of my grip mat here. This is a Waffle flower grip mat that I'm working on, as well as the Waffle flower white silicone mat. And I like using these two together. I just find that they work really well together. And I actually, my top mat that I'm using here is really dirty right now, so it's not, my paper's not sticking to it as it normally would, so I really need to give that a good soap and warm water bath so that it gains its stickiness back again. So here you can just see doing the same process over and over again, just, using that Tattered Rose for the lightest areas and then going back in with that aged mahogany to darken some of the areas up. And I really like that variation of the light and dark. It really, really makes it much more noticeable what the layers are of that bloom. So for the leaf, again, I'm starting with the lighter color, the Old Paper. Then I'll add some Bundled Sage just to the center area and then a little bit of the Peeled Paint to the centered area as well. And so just kind of varying the darks and lights of the green, leaving the lightest at the tips of the leaves and then the darker area to the center, the darker or brighter. So that's what those look like when they're all finished. I'll just show you kind of a close-up here. I really like how those look. I think they're super pretty. Now I am going to layer these peony bloom layers together with some thin foam squares. And so we're going to get a little bit of dimension in that way, but like not too much. So because that thin foam really kind of it's just perfect because you, like I said, you get that little bit of lift, but it's not too thick when you're finished. So I'll just add a couple of these little foam squares kind of to the center area. That's going to leave the outer edges free. So if you do want to bend kind of and loosen up the outer areas, fold them up a little bit, the outer edges of the blooms. And in that way, you could give it even more dimension if you chose to do that. This is a really, really easy bloom to put together with the Lovely Layers. Everything lines up so nicely. You just have to look at the different shapes on the die cut, and you can just really, really easily see where things layer together. And of course, the layers with the embossing on them are going to be on the top, or you'll be able to see those, and the other layers will cover up the unembossed areas. So again, just going in with those foam squares for each one of these different layers. And when I'm finished, you can just see how really nice and dimensional that is. It almost looks like a real peony bloom on my desk. And the little bud, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and add just that little bit of thin foam in between each of the layers and pop these up just like so, so that we've got just this really sweet little dimensional bud when we're finished. And these colors are so pretty. The reason why I chose these colors is because of the paper that I'm going to be using on my card front, and you'll see that here in a little bit. But that was the inspiration for my color palette today. I really like this. And of course I was thinking, Valentine's is coming, Valentine's Day. So I was thinking that, this might be some good inspiration for a Valentine's card, but honestly, you could use any sentiment with this card, I think, and it could be perfect for a sympathy card or a birthday card, almost anything, really an anniversary card, whatever it is that you need. So I'm just going to put this tiny little green piece here at the bottom of the bud, and then we'll have a stem for that as well with the leaves to place that around our peony. So the ink blending is all finished. Now this is the Honey Bee Stamps Lovely Layouts Posted die set. This is such a great set. It gives you this really great, almost like a postage stamp look for your card front. And then you can just see there's some other really great layering dies in here as well, and some sentiment dies, a little postage stamp die as well, and a little border die. So a really, really great set. That's Lovely Layouts Posted. And you can see the pattern paper that I used here. The pattern paper, the inspiration for this, and the paper pad that goes along with this is the Cottage Countryside paper pad from Honeybee. That release last spring was just one of my favorite all-time releases from Honeybee. It was just absolutely gorgeous. I really, really loved it. And that's the paper pad from that release. Now I'm just going to adhere my card front to an A2 size top folding craft colored card base. And I'll just give that a really good press. I did add a little bit of my Honeybee liquid adhesive to the back. I'm going to pop up my pattern paper here with some foam adhesive and just give it a little bit more dimension. If you are looking for more of a flat card, you're going to want to eliminate all of the foam tape that I'm using on this project, including the foam squares on the peony. You definitely can layer these all together flat with liquid adhesive and it will just be fine and look just great as well. So I just added a little bit of liquid adhesive to the foam tape just to give me that little opportunity to wiggle this into place. And I'm going to use this set here. This is called Great Greetings Love. Love this set. It's so cute. You've got several words and their shadow dies as well as an ampersand, which is fantastic. And so I've cut out the XOXO from white cardstock and some matte gold cardstock, as well as the shadow from some vellum. And I'm going to adhere these different layers together. So I'll adhere a gold layer on that white layer just to give it a little bit more dimension and sturdiness, I guess. And once I've got those exos put together, I will add those onto my vellum shadow layer here. And just a little bit of liquid adhesive on the back of that gives me that opportunity to wiggle that into place. And I'll just give that a really good press. And when that's all finished, this is good to go as my sentiment for my project. The shadow layer is one piece, and then the X and O are each two separate pieces. So each XO is joined together and then they go easily onto that shadow layer. I'm just going to use some liquid adhesive on the back of my peony here and add that to the top left-hand corner. I'm just going to have my peony kind of coming down from the top and then have my sentiment at the bottom. I'll use a little bit of thin foam squares on the backs of a couple of the leaves and on the back of my bud as well, which is going to give them a little more loft and also just make sure that they're attached to the card. And that's where my sentiment's going to go, and that will finish off my project. Friends, I hope you enjoyed this and were inspired today. And I have linked up in the description box below to all of the different products that I've used from Honeybee Stamps. Some of these things are actually on sale right now too, so make sure you check them out. I really enjoyed this and I hope you did too. Have a wonderful day, friends, and I hope to see you again very soon to offer you more inspiration using lovely products from Honeybee Stamps. Take care. Bye-bye.